There was a study done trying to examine the effects of testosterone on women. What they found was that when women were given temporary testosterone, they behaved more calmly and fairly. Meanwhile, women given a placebo behaved more selfishly and aggressively, believing that the testosterone had made them more aggressive and more selfish.
Fellas, there are two types of masculinity in this life. You have performative masculinity, and then you have real masculinity. Whenever you hear women saying they are in their masculine, they are always engaging in performative masculinity, the same type of masculinity that the majority of men perform today as well. What the woman and the performative man do not understand is that masculinity is a process. It's not a performance. They believe that masculinity is the performance of not being vulnerable. I'll say that again. They believe that masculinity is the performance of not being vulnerable, when in truth, masculinity is actually the entire opposite. It is the process of being vulnerable with the self. Something the woman and the performative man has dedicated their life not to do. So they see masculinity as something you do to avoid vulnerability, when in truth, it is actually something you do to embrace it. They mistake self-assurance for obnoxiousness, confidence for superiority, direction and purpose for boasting, boundaries for defense mechanisms, autonomy for stubbornness, solitude for isolation. They cannot see or understand what the masculine is because they have not been vulnerable enough with the self to access this level of truth, perspective, and introspection. So the woman and the performative man project their own bad qualities that they refuse to accept about themselves onto the masculine to make sense of what they are seeing and feeling.
Study done trying to examine the effects of testosterone on women. What they found was that when women were given temporary testosterone, they behaved more calmly and fairly. Meanwhile, women given a placebo behaved more selfishly and aggressively, believing that the testosterone had made them more aggressive and more selfish. In my opinion, what this study showed was that whenever women pursue male characteristics or male traits associated with their idea of power, in reality, all that they're embodying is chaotic, aggressive, hostile femininity. Basically, in their pursuit of power, they become the worst versions of women.
I told you guys in a recent video that the performative man and the woman do not actually believe in masculinity. They do not see it. They think it's a performance. The performative man sees himself as weak, and he is weak because he refuses to be vulnerable with the self in order to alchemize his weaknesses into strengths. He also sees the woman as weak, but he also sees that the woman is able to be weak freely, whilst he is not. He sees that the woman is able to be vulnerable with others, but he is not. So in truth, the performative man is even weaker than the woman. He is not vulnerable with the self, aka masculine, and he is also not vulnerable with others, aka the feminine. So he goes on to develop the worst traits of both the man and the woman with none of the strengths. He will grow to pedestalize the woman or hate and resent the woman for not having to perform the same masculinity as he does. He hates performing masculinity because he doesn't even believe in it in the first place, and he wants his weaknesses to be accepted, like the woman's weaknesses are accepted. He sees the woman as freely being able to be who she is, and he incorrectly believes that he is very similar to the woman, but he's not allowed to be who he is. He believes himself to be a woman who is not allowed to be a woman. He does not believe in masculinity, and like the woman, he believes masculinity is the opposite of what it actually is. Ironically, both his and a woman's performance of masculinity is actually extremely feminine. Performing and acting and pretending to be something, to avoid vulnerability with the self, to avoid truth, to avoid things that are unfamiliar, to avoid things that scare you, give you anxiety, make you feel uncertain, make you feel like you're not in control, are all very feminine characteristics. Defense mechanisms, coping mechanisms, they're all feminine characteristics. Refusing to slay internal dragons, being fluid, being fickle, being fake in who you are, not having a strong sense of identity, not having a strong sense of self-esteem, externalization instead of internalization. These are all very, very feminine traits. So when the woman and the performative man is practicing masculinity, they're actually performing an extreme toxic version of femininity.
In my opinion, what this study showed was that whenever women pursue male characteristics or male traits associated with their idea of power, in reality, all that they're embodying is chaotic, aggressive, hostile femininity. Basically, in their pursuit of power, they become the worst versions of women, which made me then consider the opposite side of the coin, which is that men who pursue women typically become more complacent and submissive. They lose their masculine functions in their pursuit of acquiring sex, which completely embodies the moral lesson behind the fall of man. Women in pursuit of power and men in pursuit of lust will collapse mankind.
I told you guys in a previous video that the man who is born powerful, aka independent, pursues beauty his whole life, whilst the woman who is born beautiful pursues power, aka independence, her whole life. But the type of beauty the man pursues is different depending on whether he is masculine or performing masculinity. There is no internal dragon like lust, as it represents pleasure and sin. It is a higher dragon, an elder dragon. This dragon rules over all other dragons, even the fear of death. A lot of work needs to be done in order to slay this dragon. And like Alduin from Skyrim, it can never truly be killed. And like Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, it will always exist somewhere and never only be a memory. As long as there is pleasure, sex, emotion, and attraction, there will always be those who have an excessive dysregulated desire towards those things. Always be those who are unable to meet their own needs. Always be those who are seeking meaning and fulfillment in life, but cannot find it. So they in turn submit to the meaning and fulfillment the woman proclaims to have and sells. Lust is something only the masculine can overcome. And when he is able to overcome this, he is able to finally see what true beauty is. Whilst lust is something that those who perform masculinity serve and dedicate their entire lives to, like the followers of Slanesh on Warhammer 40k. Both men pursue beauty their whole lives. They are constantly looking to add color to their lives, music to their lives, artistic expression to their lives. But the masculine man sees beauty in everything: pain and joy, bad and good, death and life. He is in love with the process of life, not just the outcomes that can be achieved in life. No longer having a lust for the woman, he now has a lust for life. The masculine sees beauty through the lens of meaning. And this is a state of being that can only be achieved when a man has committed himself to being 100% vulnerable with the self. This is the process of masculinity. Whilst the performative man can only see beauty in the woman, and because of this, he is unable to give himself a sense of meaning and fulfillment in life. There is only so much beauty the woman can provide, only so much meaning and fulfillment the woman can provide. But because this man isn't vulnerable with himself, he has denied himself of truths that will communicate and show to him the true essence of life, the true beauty in life. All of the color, music, and artistic expression he blinds himself to, he tells himself isn't beautiful. Furthermore, because the performative man believes himself to be a woman who is not allowed to be a woman, he too seeks power like a woman. Power he does not believe himself to have, so he does not have. This man will see solitude as loneliness. He will see his independence as isolation. He will see his duty and his responsibilities as slave labor. Desire to sacrifice himself for the greater good as weakness. He cannot see man's tools, so he cannot sharpen it. And this is why the performative man always feels powerless, always feels weak. So the performative man seeks both beauty and power. He sees beauty through the lens of lust, and he combines his lust with his fantasies of power and creates domination. I'll say that again. He combines his lust with his fantasies of power and creates domination. So what the performative man truly seeks is domination. He dominates himself instead of being able to understand himself and work with himself. The same way he has a desire to dominate others instead of understanding others and working with others. This is why he does not have the skill of empathy. Why would he have empathy with you or try to understand you when he does not even have empathy with himself or try to understand himself? Because he sees life through the lens of domination, he will either find a woman he can dominate or find a woman who can dominate him. As I said in my previous video, a dysregulated person can only see themselves as superior to others or inferior to others. They cannot operate or function as an equal to anybody, and because of this, they cannot treat their brothers well, and they cannot treat the women well without falling into subservience, falling into their lower nature, without falling in love and abandoning themselves and retreating entirely into the bosom of the woman like he once did when he was a little boy with his mother. All right, fellas, so in my previous videos, I've been talking a lot about vulnerability and stuff like that, and I am about to move on. So this is going to be my last video on the matter, I think. But anyway, let me show you this video.
Yeah, excuse me. I like your tan lines. What's your name?
In this film breakdown, not only are we going to witness a spectacular pivot foot, but also the ability to control and lead a conversation. Stop trying to anticipate how the prospect is going to respond and just fucking hoop. Let's watch.
Yeah, I said I like your tan lines. You have nice tan lines.
That's a weird thing to say.
Oh. What's your name?
You like my tan lines?
Yeah, you have like a, I don't know, what do you like? You're Brazilian?
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Oh.
Did you think about what you just said before you said it to me?
No, I kind of just like saw, well, my dad told me to go follow you to Reem, so like I saw you, and I was like, she's hot, I'm gonna go say something, and
How close are you with your dad?
very close. This has got to do, I just want to know your name. I love my dad. All I do is ask me what your name was. Did you have a name?
No, you didn't.
Oh, well, I said I like your tan lines. You have nice tan lines.
And that's weird.
Oh.
Do you know what? I'm not even going to be mad at you.
Oh.
For the next girl you go up to,
Well, I don't actually do this often. I thought you were. Oh.
Next girl you go up to, don't ask her about her tan lines.
Oh. Where you? Can you just tell me where you're from?
Now, right now, it appears to be pretty fucking bad, right? The player can't get a single shot to fall. The prospect seemingly doesn't enjoy the presence of the player whatsoever. However, right here is a tryout. Yes. The prospect is putting the player to the test. You see, she's criticizing him, giving him a lot of resistance. She wants to see how the player will respond. Notice how the player isn't, he's not concerned with her criticism whatsoever. Brushing that shit off, oh, you should do this. Yeah, okay, whatever. Where did you say he was from, though? Yes. This is spectacular pivot foot. This is be able to go through the lane and take bumps, and still finish. Yes. Now watch how he also accuses and make accusations of the prospect.
Like, are you like Swedish, Norwegian? Maybe you're Norwegian. You might be Norwegian.
I'm Russian.
Ty jesteś Ruski. Ty odkuda? You're not Russian. You don't look Russian at all. I don't know. I feel like you're Scandinavian.
Okay, you already creeped me out.
But jag snackar svenska. Du snackar svenska. Du är från
Svensk?
Ja, jag snackar svenska. Ja, jag älskar Stockholm.
Got it. See, this just came down to knowledge. This brother right here was well versed in European culture, right? But fellas, this is why having a foundation of general knowledge is imperative. Yes, you need to, you might have to be able to, pull this out your bag, right? It's just like having a deep bag from, whatever the situation calls for, okay? Now, we're going to go ahead and speed this up because, this nigga had to cook for a minute to recover. But let's just see how he finishes.
We'll just go skål.
Okay, so you're going to buy me a drink.
Yeah, you like beer, vodka? What's your...
Guess what I like?
Hennessy. Yeah, boy. I love Hennessy. Wait, this is...
with cranberry back?
Yes, with cranberry back. You want to go? Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. Ja, iska svenska.
Wait, I'm dead ass too.
I'm dead ass too.
Yeah. See, fellas, don't burden yourself so much with the icebreaker. What to say? You know, it's cool if you could, say some smooth shit or, you know what I'm saying? But if you could just find something that is pertaining to the present moment, okay, that's all you need. Just a simple, hey, what's good, bam, and then pivot from there. You see? And disregard her criticism, right? Don't let that shit phase you. Brush that shit off. Yeah, this nigga he was hella poised the entire time, even, having to face a little bit of adversity. This was phenomenal, okay? Excellent display of composure. I give this player a 94 overall. Yeah, 94 overall. So go out here, y'all. Work on your bag. Stop stressing yourself out and get some neck.
So before we get into this video, I just want to go over how hilarious this video is and how hilarious this guy is. A lot of the times I get men asking me, the woman is so difficult. All of these things are so hard. What is the point? Like, they literally outsource meaning onto me. And it's so hard for me to answer it because I've got a laundry list of superficial points and I've got a laundry list of meaningful points. And if I'm being honest with you, I feel like after going through, 3 things on the superficial list, I feel like that's enough. I feel like if those 3 things aren't enough, then probably you're not 100% straight. Maybe you're a little bit gay. I feel like I shouldn't even have to go onto the meaningful list to convince you. Like, don't you want neck? So I showed you this video for a number of things, and I'm going to get into it. First, I want to start with the process, all right? A man who is vulnerable with himself, a man who has exposed himself to himself, will then be able to expose himself to life. Once you've surrendered yourself to the self, you're able to surrender yourself to life. And what happens is that you begin to enjoy the process of life. The masculine is so much more tuned into the processes and the mechanisms and the affirming of life that he gets most of his rewards through the processes of life, not the outcomes of life. This is something that women, the feminine, children, and men who perform masculinity have in common. They hate the process of stuff. They don't like the journey of stuff, and they immediately want the outcomes of stuff. And this feeds into the whole perfectionism of the feminine spirit. What is the point of doing X, Y, and Z because of all of the difficulties and hurdles and pain and sufferings I have to overcome along the way? The masculine embraces these things and learns to have an enjoyment and a sense of reward through his continued participation in the process of life. Whilst the feminine spirit, men who perform masculinity, they don't like the process of life. They only like the outcomes of life, and they will only participate in something when the outcomes are guaranteed. What happens here is you don't learn the perspectives, you don't have access to the truths that actually make you more competent and actually aid you in achieving the outcomes that you want, achieving and accomplishing the things that you want. You must first learn to enjoy the process before you actually gain access to the outcomes of things. The man in the video, I would say, is quite regulated and is quite masculine. He's sat with enough truths to understand the woman and understand himself. And this has given him an ability to influence himself and to influence the woman. The woman is antisocial. The woman says no before she says yes. The woman is a creature of no. And as I said, the masculine is a creature of yes. The woman is designed to reject you. She's a disqualifier. She literally has dopamine and a sense of reward from rejecting, embarrassing, and abandoning men. That's her job. The woman's job is to ensure excellence. If she deems you not good enough, she has a desire to reject you and embarrass you, even humiliate you. I always say God sends the woman to you, and the woman acts as a mirror to you. The woman reflects where you are on the part of your journey. She will do everything to throw you off center. She will do everything to become an enemy of progress to your direction, to test you, and to make you fall. The woman will lock onto any insecurity you have and try to expose you for them. The woman who has true colors is so certain that the man has true colors, and she's obsessed with uncovering your true colors. The man in the video has been vulnerable with himself to the degree to where he doesn't put his sense of self-worth in the woman. He doesn't outsource his sense of self-worth into the woman. He doesn't externalize his sense of self-worth. This is the reason why her nose didn't faze him. Her rejections didn't faze him. Her disinterest didn't faze him. He was never once moved off center. This shows confidence. This shows that he has an inner flame. His sense of validation and approval and understanding and acceptance comes from within. And so in this little back and forth he has with the woman, in this little dance with the woman done all of her antisocialities, and she did everything to trigger him, to put shame into him, to make him feel insecure and to throw him off center. And she was unable to do so. She began to feel his aura. She began to feel that he is very vulnerable with himself. She began to feel his masculinity. So in turn, he began to win her over. Antisociality will always crumble in the face of pro-sociality, fellas. And this is the reason why the masculine is always pro-social. Negativity will always crumble in the face of positivity. This is the reason why the masculine is always positive. The masculine has a positive evaluation of himself, of others, and of the world. And this positivity is infectious. This positivity brings the pro-social out of the antisocial. This is the mechanisms of attraction, fellas. This is the mechanisms of sexual attraction. This is how a man is able to emotionally lead a woman, the woman who is not comfortable being vulnerable with herself. So she has defense mechanisms, so she has coping mechanisms, so she has manipulations and avoidant motivated behavior. She feels compelled to men who are not the same, men who are polarizing to her. It was this man's enjoyment of the process, enjoyment of the back and forth, enjoyment of overcoming her walls, her rejections, and her control mechanisms that got him the reward and the outcome he was looking for. So that's the first point I wanted to cover with you guys. The second point is a lot of you guys confuse my disliking of cold approaching with socializing. I am an incredibly extroverted social person. I talk to strangers all of the time. I tell you guys that you should be invested in warm approaches and not cold approaches. But socializing with a stranger is completely fine. It depends how you do it. I don't know if this guy is cold approaching or not, but to me, he is just displaying his extraversion, expressing himself freely, talking to people he wants to talk to. That's very masculine and that is very powerful. There is a difference there. And if you notice, she pushed to go and get some drinks. He didn't even need to do this. And when you guys understand the nuance between these two differences, your opportunities will drastically increase. Be more pro-social, be more extroverted, be more warm and willing to talk to whoever you want to talk to, and be willing to just express yourselves in whatever way you want to express yourself, and you will see so many more opportunities come your way. You talk to a woman one day without no desire for a specific outcome, and the next day she taps you on your shoulder. These are the rewards of the pro-social. These are the rewards of the extroverted man. I told you guys many times that the number one indicator for success with women is extraversion. The number one indicator for failure with women is introversion. The extroverted fella who isn't good looking, who isn't tall, who isn't rich will always have more success with the introverted fella who is good looking, who is tall, who is rich. The willingness to participate and the willingness and the enjoyment of the process of participation is masculine and yields the biggest return. A man who is performing masculinity is always surprised, is always thrown off, is always triggered, is always offended, is always aroused. He's so easily manipulatable. The woman can throw one spanner in the works and the whole system comes crashing down. But a man who is masculine is always able to influence himself somatically, internally, psychologically, emotionally. He's always able to influence himself because he's exposed himself to himself. He's always able to influence himself in the right ways. And in turn, he's always able to influence others in the right way. Masculinity is not a performance. It is a process. It is a martial art, something you dedicate your entire life to. When you do this, you will project strength, You will project everything that other human beings admire, respect, and are drawn towards. You will build a nervous system that is strong and ready to withstand truths and extents of the reality that you live in and your environment and others, and truths of yourself. You will be able to calibrate your ego in a way that is healthy, flexible, and designed to propel you forward. These things will communicate to the egos and nervous systems of others before you even open your mouth. These people will be attracted to the back of your head because this is what we call aura. This is what aura is. Vulnerability is everything. The masculine man is vulnerable with himself, and he's also vulnerable with others. The difference with the masculine man is that his vulnerability is actually a strength, because he sat with his vulnerability for so long, he was able to alchemize all of his weaknesses into strength. And this strength is projected onto others in his posture, in his tonality, his nervous system, his body language, his micro expressions, and how comfortable he is to freely express himself. His intelligence, his charm, his charisma, his wit, his ability to communicate, his self-control, his emotional discipline, his sexual discipline. Fellas, I hope you guys have loved this video as much as I love you guys. Thank you for your support. I'm going to say it again. Everybody who I've not been able to get through to, I will answer your emails. Just be a little bit more patient. I'm currently going through a heat wave, so anybody who's trying to get through to me and can't, I'm dying in the heat, fellas. I don't know what to say. It's hot. It's very, very hot. It's very, very hot. I've been busy as well. Arsenal have won the Premier League today. We're potentially going to win the Champions League. I'm busy, fellas. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm also kind of celebrating and stuff like that. I've been ill, celebrating, and hot. Love you guys so much. Please continue to support the page and the channel. I see all of you guys that have bought me coffees and stuff like that. Love you guys so much. I am paying attention to everybody who has been supporting me. I promise you. I'm very busy at the moment. I have multiple children as well, you know this, so it's just very busy. Everything is busy, you know, but I will show you guys the love that you guys deserve. We'll see you on the next one.